Sacramento still affordable? That's what we're talking about tonight. And truthfully, it doesn't really even matter what I have to say because I already live here. I want to know what you guys think. Everyone who's watching this broadcast, everyone who's thinking about moving into Sacramento, do you guys think Sacramento is affordable? That's going to be the conversation. We're bringing in Aaron Klaus, all-star mortgage broker, into the conversation. We're going to talk a little bit about this tonight. So bring your questions, comments, and opinions. I want to know, guys, is Sacramento, California still affordable? All right, guys. Hopefully you guys are having a beautiful Wednesday. It's crazy right now. I mean, fires going on. Today here in Sacramento, the weather is just, I mean, it's just a nutty kind of wet. And the weirdest part is the real estate market is seemed to be, it's just warm. I mean, honestly, part of me is kind of like thinking to myself, like, it shouldn't be warm. I keep telling people, I'm like, look, I got no data to really tell you why it's heating up. Interest rates are still up. Inventory is still anemic. New home incentives are kind of still, not as good as they were in October. But there is a buzz in the air. There's a lot of stuff going on. Aaron, how's it going, man?
It's going well, man. I definitely agree with your sentiment on that. I almost like, I feel like all of us industry insiders, we're like waiting for the floor to fall out from all of this. Cause it's like, home prices keep going up. Mortgage interest rates are at a 6-month high. Wages are not growing, in correlation with all of this. Yet there's demand, and it's like, who are these people? Like, who's able to afford all of this stuff? And I know when I look at my clients and the people that I'm actually actively doing transactions for, it's the high income earners, or it's the people who basically their parents are stepping in and either co-signing or giving them a big fat down payment to offset the actual cost of home ownership right now, because it's with the household income for our state on average is like 92K for a household, right? And that's not individual, of course. That's household income, and that's before taxes. So, when you peel all that stuff out of there and then you factor in the average cost of a home, where rates are at, homeowners insurance, which, with all the stuff going on in LA, I guarantee our insurance is going to get a lot more expensive. It's starting to get kind of crazy where it's, you kind of wonder, well, how the hell can anybody afford to buy a house,
Well, let me ask you something. That brings up a huge, huge point, and it's kind of the main reason why I wanted to jump on live, because a lot of people, when I post videos about, affordable houses, new homes, resale homes, or whatnot, a lot of people, the biggest question they have is like, Sacramento's not affordable. I don't know what you're talking about. And part of me goes like, yeah, I get where you're coming from. Sacramento isn't as affordable as it was maybe 5 years ago. Relation to the Bay Area, relation to LA, it's still rather affordable. But as far as California, what do you think as far as like affordability? I mean, you and I were talking offline, and you're like, you're talking about numbers as far as what it takes to buy a home in Sacramento. What does that look like?
Oh man, if you want to be able to afford a house in Sacramento and also like afford life, because it's not like, most people, let's be real, most people, they have additional expenses beyond the mortgage payment, right? You got groceries, school, kids, the list goes on and on and on. Plus all the utilities, average car payment for most people is over $800 a month. You add all that stuff together, and I would say that in order to be able to afford your average home in the area, you're going to need to make north of $170,000 per year household income. And of course, everybody's budget's going to be a little bit different, but that's what I'm seeing for the most part. And, part of that has to do with the lack of down payment that most buyers, don't have. Your average down payment for most people is around 5 to maybe 10%. So with home prices where they're at, you're already, spending a lot more, but now you're also having to leverage a lot more. And with where interest rates are at, that debt service is, really high. Then you got to add on your property taxes and all the other stuff. So, years ago, not even years ago, if you go back a year or two ago, a mortgage payment of like $5,000 a month, that was like a eye-popping payment. Whereas now I see those like on a daily basis. That's just kind of like average, 4 or 5 thousand bucks a month. And that's not a baller house, by the way. That's just stepping into your average old house with, a decent down payment and paying today's interest rates and taxes and all that stuff. So it's the affordability gap is definitely spreading, and I don't know what the answer is to it.
I mean, here's the thing about Sacramento. I think a lot of people, like, I run into a lot of people, and a lot of the people, like I said, like, right now, the market doesn't make sense as far as, like, why it's active. I mean, it just doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, and like you and I kind of deciphered a little bit of it towards the end of last year, like, the 3Ds, death, departing, what's called divorcing. I mean, that seems to be a majority of the stuff that we're seeing hit the market right now. And those are not fun in any shape or form, especially two of them. But that's kind of still what we're seeing. And it's still one of those things that I think that, I look at luxury market here in Sacramento, I mean, I remember back in the day, I mean, you can get a house in Grant Bay for like $800, $750. And like some of these communities in Grant Bay, you can't even budge into it for like 1.5. I think a lot of people right now are everyone's kind of looking for more of the affordable stuff in Sacramento. And as it once was maybe $300,000 to get yourself a nice 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, maybe like 5 years ago. I would say right now in Sacramento, it's like if you get something in the fives, you're extremely lucky,
Oh yeah.
And that on top of interest rates, and that on top of like, everyone tends to want the same house. It just makes Sacramento it's kind of a frustrating market for a lot of people. And now with the new homes also, the new homes were like so good October, November. I mean, the incentives were crazy, but a lot of them made their Q4 thing, and now they're into January. They're not too pressed to sell some homes. And a lot of people sold out of homes because towards the end of last year, they're just getting rid of homes left and right. And so the incentives aren't what they used to be at the end of 2024. So it's becoming a little bit more of a gotcha here in Sacramento. And I think that like right now what we're going to have, it's going to be interesting because I know there are some realtors that I know of specifically ready to list some homes. I just like one of the biggest things for me is I don't know what the pricing is going to look like on those homes. Like that's going to dictate a lot about the market we're in, the pricing. Are we going to see realistic, aggressive pricing in our market? Or are we going to see a little bit of the inflated prices that the sellers were throwing out there because they're sitting on 2.75s? And that's going to be the biggest question mark in the market, at least for me, for the next couple of months. What do you think?
I think your latter statement hit the nail on the head, is that you've got the majority of sellers. They're not selling because they died. They're not selling because they're getting a divorce or departing. They're selling because they, want to move or move up or down or whatever, but they are doing it at their desired price. They're not doing it under the gun of, hey, you've got something, an alternative reason pushing you. And so if your, interest rates in the 2s or 3s, which like 70-80% of mortgage holders have a rate around there, you don't feel the financial pressure to move, especially when you're exchanging that interest rate for triple, or quadruple what you've already got. So I think that we're going to see an awful lot of listings where the seller's unrealistic, the real estate agent's desperate for the listing, and so they're not going to have that coming to Jesus meeting with the seller about, hey, you're crazy, you're not going to get this price, because the seller's going to be like, hey, then I'm just not going to sell. I'll just stay here in my 2.75% rate that's super affordable, and you know what? We'll just remodel the kitchen instead, and I won't have to listen to the wife complain about living here anymore. I think that you're going to see a whole lot of that going on versus people, basically saying, hey, I get that it's a tough market. I get that interest rates are high. You know what? Instead of selling for 1 million, let's actually list at 800,000. It's like, no, these guys are like, hey, I'd like to get 1.1 million. They're like pushing it even further. I still see a ton of listings that I feel like fall into that category. And, they sit on the market for 3 to 6 months, and it gives the consumer this perception that, hey, the market's slowing down and all that stuff. And it's really not the case, because the homes that are actually moving, they are moving at these, prices that, many people feel are too high or inflated or whatever. But, at a certain point, if you wait long enough, a lot of times you'll find somebody that's willing to buy what you're selling, if you got the time, right? And so I think that we will see a lot of that. I also think that, you were talking about incentives and the new build space. Let's be clear, builders have zero incentive to build affordable homes. All the money, all the margin is in building luxury homes. That's why when you look at the majority, besides like LGI and a handful of smaller players that kind of focus on that niche, all of them are building homes that's, start price is 750, 800,000 ish plus. And the ones that like I mentioned, was a LGI. You look at those guys, great, great builder and all that stuff, but where do they build homes at? They build homes out in the middle of nowhere. So it's like they're not, the homes that a lot of people would consider affordable, they don't want to live there because they don't want to relocate all the way to Plumas Lake or whatever. They want to live in Sacramento. And the homes
Yeah.
that are being built in Sacramento, they're not being built at that, $400,000 entry price.
Well, here's the thing that's crazy too is we have builders that normally are building more of the affordable homes, and now they're kind of like either up in their price point a little bit, or they're building in the luxury market. Like Anthem Homes, they're building like a luxury community up in Whitney Ranch. New Home
Mm-hmm.
Company segued into more of the luxury building. Premier Homes, the same thing. They were building just okay, middle, kind of normal homes, and then all of a sudden, boom. And so, you don't have your onslaught of affordable builders in the Sacramento area like you kind of did before, and it's going to impact our market price sometime this year, because I look at Anthem at Whitney Ranch. I think the starting price there is like 900, and that just doesn't bode well for people who are saying, I got a $500,000 budget. I want to keep it under
Mm-hmm.
$4,000. I mean, even KB, they had their Paseo community at Rancho in the fives, and now they're building in the sixes. Meritage and West Roseville in the sixes.
Yep.
It's not easy to find those fives. All right, let's get some questions. Sabo, the Kings are speaking. Kings Sacramento Real Estate. Sabo, you are awesome. Thank you for the support, the love, and everything too. And I'm sure part of you, when you see this or you see the frustration in the market, you're just hanging out in your hot tub, man. Hanging out in the hot tub and just saying to yourself, I'm so glad I found my dream home. I don't have to deal with
Yep.
this chaos. Because here's the thing, guys. Finding a home, like it should be fun. I mean, you think, hey, shopping, finding a home, let's go. Let's do it. It's going to be great. It's a very frustrating market. A lot of people we worked with I've 6 to 8 months. They still haven't found exactly what they're looking for. So it is a little bit of a frustrating market. I don't know when we'll ever get back to the norm. So it says it might be the husband complaining, speaking from experience. You never know. I always say it's always funny when you talk to people who are looking to either sell or buy or whatnot. It's always that the biggest thing that we get, because we're always saying, time your life, don't time the market. Time the market, you'll fail. Or the odds are not great. But I think it's always the space thing. I mean, I think it's also because in Sacramento, a lot of people, just are feeling like, I don't know, maybe COVID or whatnot, but a lot of people are feeling like they need more space and the whole claustrophobia feeling. So a lot of people are still looking for the bigger house, like they're smart though. And I think a lot of people tend to be, unless they really, really need to move, they're going to just hang out. So I don't know. I think Sabo's right. The best time to buy, in my opinion, is always when you see your dream home. Yes. What do you think about that, Aaron?
I mean, if you can afford to make it happen, sure. I mean, obviously, like the whole point of like the slogan "Time your life, not the market" is really like, making sure that you can actually afford to, get into what you're getting into. I think that it's, the challenge a lot of people face is that they've got, champagne taste, and they're living in, an area that it's like Pabst Blue Ribbon beer budget status based off of, where rates are at, their down payment, their income, all of those things. And so, I for people that are willing to, kind of readjust their dream and, realign it with, the financial reality that they face, there are opportunities out there, but it's that can be a hard pill to swallow. And if you're already a homeowner, it's even harder. It's one thing if you're
Yeah.
just, paying somebody else's mortgage and renting, but if you already have a place and you've got a sweet deal on your mortgage already, that can be a tough move to make. I mean, even, my scenario, I got 2.25, and I've wanted to move for quite some time. And, the further away I get from, that want, I too am kind of realigning, my goals. 'Cause it's like, I want to live out in the country, but do I want to pay 15 or 20 grand a year for homeowners insurance? I just, I personally, I can't swallow that pill. I mean, that's just, I feel like I'm getting screwed. But, everybody's got to kind of do what's going to make the most sense for them, obviously. And so it'll be really interesting to see how things play out with, all the stuff going on down south with the fire insurance and, with, something that we've got going on. And I say we, like the United States. A lot of people don't realize this, but we have about $10 trillion in debt that is due for refinance. And we don't, we have a deficit. We don't have a surplus. And so what do we have to do? Well, we got to issue more debt. But that debt was originally at like 0%, but now rates are at like 5 for US Treasuries. So just imagine what that's going to do to inflation, which inflation is the enemy of mortgage interest rates. I think we're going to see rates get higher, honestly.
Interesting. Yeah, I heard some people say 8s. I heard some people say low 6s. Like I said, I think Sabo's right about the whole idea of like when it's your time, it's your time. But I would say before you even find your dream home, honestly, just do the education and the research. I mean, Sabo found his dream home, but I mean, we went shopping, man. We went shopping every which way but loose to find it. And I think through the process, he became really educated about the area. And he doesn't have that FOMO, that FOMO of going, oh man, there's this one area I wish I would have looked in. And I think that that's important too, especially if an area, like get away really from the house, especially if it's something that at this time isn't right for you, but get to know the areas, the neighborhoods, the streets, the communities, and all that stuff too. I mean, that's the biggest thing that you can kind of do. And here's the biggest telltale thing for realtors too. I mean, tell a realtor that, hey, I'll be buying in like 6 months or a year. And if you hear a dial tone, probably the wrong realtor. So I would say, guys, here's the thing. Like, it's never too early to start watching a great YouTube channel with some videos for you. Get to know Sacramento really, really well. So, yeah. Dan Lure says, finger red, number 1. Man, Dan the man. If you guys are looking for any type of contracting, any type of building, Dan is the man. And he's such a good guy. High integrity. Love Dan. If you guys are enjoying this broadcast, this is a live broadcast we do every single Wednesday at 7. Smash that like button. All right, Eddie. What do you guys think about the rail yard area near downtown, man? For me, honestly, and you hit the nail on the head. Kaiser Hospital, Sac Republic, soccer team. I mean, dude, not only that, okay, you got the X Games coming in to Cal Expo for the next 3 years. Could be for a while, and then you got the A's in West Sacramento. That's like a hop, skips, and jump from that area. I love that whole downtown area, man. I love it. I think it's crazy. I think that like there's gonna be a lot of people probably talking to Dan and getting some extra land and building ADUs. I think that area is gonna grow. I think that also areas like Southland Park you should keep your eye out for. Tahoe Park, certain Oak Park as well too, Colonial Heights. I mean, I think all those areas near downtown are just going to pop. And I think the thing is right now, I don't think a lot of people realize the huge impact that like something like the A's coming into town. That's not only just people seeing the A's, it's also all the other teams in their area, like in their division coming in and playing. It's going to be huge. I've got a friend of mine who's like a Texas Ranger fan, and he's like, I already got my tickets. I'm ready to go. I mean, like it's going to be big, big, big. So anything near downtown, I like it. I like it a lot. I mean, honestly, I think for me, if I'm looking, I'd look at also, I think North Natomas, a lot of people are like, I thought it would pop even more, I think it's right there, man. I think we got so much stuff happening towards downtown Sacramento. And I think a little bit it was overlooked, right? You know, like all the new home building, the Folsoms of Rockland, the El Dorado Hills, and everything too. I mean, those are like the new kids in town, in school, right? And all the new home building. But I think the areas like down there, like the Arden Arcades, like I love those areas. And I think with all that kind of attention spotlight, I don't know, I see good things ahead. What do you think, Aaron?
Well, as far as the rail yard project and all the proposals and everything, I'm of the position of I'll believe it when I see it, and the reason for that is like Google Township 9, and what you'll see is a massive development that was supposed to go into that whole area, and what happened? It went belly up. Developers have been trying to basically turn that whole area around for decades, and for whatever reason they just haven't been able to get enough economic activity, enough investors interest, whatever the case is. But like the guy that owned Nehemiah, which you may have remember that name, they're a huge down payment assistance program company. Back in like 2012, he was spearheading the Township 9 project. They had massive investments, huge investors. I mean, you're a multi-billion-dollar project and dead in the water. And so I know that it would be, obviously great for the area, great for Sacramento and everything. But I've seen a lot of promises be made that didn't end up getting delivered on that. But who knows? Maybe with the A's coming in and the MLS and all the the additional economic activity that didn't exist back then, maybe that's what is now needed in order to make that come to fruition.
For me, man, I don't know. I mean, I look at it. I look downtown. I look at new things happening near downtown. I see Ethan Conrad picks up a skyscraper or whatever, a big building down there. I see like the Kaiser campus being built downtown. I just smell it. I smelled that like this isn't the same Sacramento a couple of years back. I see people thinking downtown is, it could be really popping right now, and Midtown and that whole area. And just, I don't know, for me, I know a lot of investors right now that are putting some cash into those areas. So I don't know. For me, I just think it makes sense. It completely makes sense. And all the right players, like Ethan Conrad, he doesn't jump into spots unless he's hedging his bets. He doesn't do that at all. So for me, I don't know.
You're talking about the slumlord of Sacramento buying the skyscraper in downtown. He's going to turn it into like a project or something. Hey, I leased the building from him, so I tell you from experience.
I will tell you straight up though, he hedges his bets like no one I've ever met before. Like he doesn't buy something unless he thinks he can make some money from it. So I don't know. It is kind of crazy. Well, we'll see. I mean, we'll see. Like for me, I look at it this way. I look at all the stuff happening in Folsom, right? And here's where I get on my rant, right? Elk Grove train station, Folsom. You got that arena, whatever they're putting in with 3 indoor hockey rinks. You got the Whitney Ranch Retail Center. You got the Costco in West Roseville. You got West Sacramento that's going to blow up because of the A's, all that stuff too. I just see us building on all areas. What are we going to do with Arco? All that stuff too. Like Dignity, UC Davis campus going in like Folsom Ranch. Like for me, I look at it like there just isn't one spot of Sacramento that something ain't happening. So for me, I really like the possibilities of Sacramento turning into just completely like growing like together. Do you know what I mean? Like, you got Folsom here, you got Elk Grove over. Let me see if I can get this right. You got Folsom here, you got Elk Grove over there, you got like Roseville over there, you got West Side. I don't know, man. I love our chances. I love everything that's happening to us. I love the attention. And I always say this. I'm like, here's the thing. Honestly, like, yes, we have a stadium, yada, yada, but like, the A's playing in Sacramento. I mean, if they didn't think that we would love the team and it would do well here, they wouldn't have brought it here, straight up. You know what I mean? Like X Games, like what do you think? Sacramento is the only city on their like docket? No, there are reasons why these people are picking our economy. Is it because of the state jobs? Is it because of like all the medical jobs coming in here? Is it because of all the new homes being developed, all the schools being built? I'm feeling Sacramento, guys. And if you're feeling the Sacramento love like I am, smash that like button. I'd appreciate it. All right. So, Sabo, I'm getting a hot tub cold plunge control combo. Living the dream, man. Living the dream. Like, okay, and Sabo, like I said, he had that. And I always tell the story of the people who have condos in the Bay Area worth a lot of money, making the move to, like, out here and just living the life, man. He's got it. Honestly, he doesn't even Sabo. You probably don't even have to go grocery shopping. You grow everything right there. You got everything. So, man, am I jealous? A tad. I'll admit. You got some good stuff
It's
going on
okay.
there, my brother. All right, we got another one. This is for you, Aaron. Is there a difference when someone purchases a home all cash versus using loans? Could you tell us some pros and cons? First-time home buyers here, and looking to purchase in a year or so. Thank you.
I mean, the obvious difference between cash and using a loan is, you got to qualify for a loan. You got to, you got a monthly payment, all that stuff. I mean, most people don't pay cash for a home. Most people don't have the cash laying around. So the question is, do you think that you could do better with your cash invested outside of, putting it all into your home and, sitting there at, 6-7% interest or whatever the case is? So, I mean, there's, pros and cons, to all cash. I mean, I think in this market with the, there's demand. It's not just crazy demand like COVID times though. So you can't just, as a cash buyer, you're not just walking in and being like, I'm the all cash buyer and I'm going to get the lower price and blah, blah, blah. That's not how it works. So really it's much more coming down to, what is the best use of your cash? Me personally, I feel like I can invest my money better than I would in terms of like the return on investment that I'd receive versus what I would pay on a mortgage. So for me, I'm using leverage and getting a mortgage versus just putting all my cash into my house. You'd asked about first time. You said you're a first time home buyer. And as far as that goes, I mean, if you've got the cash to buy the house outright, I would say that what you should be doing is like figure out what your monthly budget is in terms of a monthly payment, and then align that with the down payment, and then go and invest the rest of your money. I'm not going to say what to do with your investment. This is, we're not giving investment advice, but I personally, I wouldn't just sink all my money into my house because, think about it, your house, although it is an asset, it does appreciate, it's called equity, you build that equity over time or with putting the cash into it. It's not a active investment where, it's not like your home appreciates more because you paid cash versus you've got a loan on it. Your home's going to appreciate the same no matter what. So I would definitely be on the side of leverage as long as it's at a reasonable amount that I could afford on a monthly basis.
Okay. I think, I mean, here's my thought on the whole thing. One is you don't pay appraisal because you're going all cash. Two is you're going to save on your closing costs. The only benefit of cash too, it depends on what you're looking for as well too. If you're looking for like that one house that everyone's jumping into, everyone loves, you know what I mean? Like you're probably going to have competition still. If you're not that picky and you're looking for something that's been on the market for a while and it's empty, you could tell that there's some carrying costs on it and you want to just go low and make a few low offers and see what you could do. You could probably leverage that as well too. But like Aaron just hit the nail on the head. It just matters about, if your cash can be doing other stuff for you, and if it makes more sense. And that's something you probably want to talk to like someone like, CPA or something like this to figure out if there's other ways for you to actually make more money in other areas. But as far as like the transaction goes, I'd probably say like appraisal out the window because unless you want to do it, like I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm saying like, normally the appraisal happens because you're getting a loan on the house and you have to have an appraisal. Let's get an appraisal waiver. But for the most part, that. And then as far as title costs, escrow, that's going to be, I don't know, that's going to be a lot cheaper as well too. What else? And that's pretty much as far as what I can see. And like I said, it's been a long day, but I would say that that's probably the stuff you'd be saving on. But I think at the end of the day, this would be something that you talk to a financial planner, or you talk to someone like I got my guy, and we have the same guy like Merrill Lynch. I would talk to him and say, look, I'm going to either pay all cash for this property, or I'm just going to put a little bit in. What can my money do? What does it make more sense? And he can outweigh the pros and cons for me. He'd probably talk to Aaron also and say, Aaron, what do you think? Boom, boom, boom. And, figure it out. So I would say that. But if you're looking straight up transaction, no appraisal, and you're saving on title costs. So there we go.
One other thought I just thought of one other thing you might consider is, let's say you got the money to do the cash transaction, and you're of the opinion that after you vet it out, whether it's with a financial advisor or a conversation with ChatGPT or whatever, you figure out that mathematically your money would be better served invested versus sitting in your equity. Well, one of the things that you could potentially do is buy a house that you can't get financing on. Like, buy a house that's beat up, that needs a full-blown remodel, something that a flipper would basically be purchasing and then redoing and selling. But what you could do is basically pay cash for it, remodel it yourself, and then do what is called delayed financing, where basically the lender lets you pull your cash back out of the house after the home is financeable, and then go invest it or whatever. So that's another thought I had.
Nice. All right, looking online, it seems like there's no inventory. Are there inventory levels similar to other years in January? Yeah, it's anemic. It is a bizarre, like I straight up, it's a weird market, Dan. I mean, honestly, like, inventory levels are anemic. New home market, incentives are being pulled for the most part. Not a lot of negotiations there. Interest rates are, what are we at today, Aaron?
I'd call it about 7%.
All right, so we're still up at 7, but the phones are ringing and people are out looking, and there's optimism in the air, but it just doesn't make sense, right? I mean, you talk to everyone and you're like, yeah, it's busy, and everyone no one can really pinpoint it, right? Except for people who don't really know what they're talking about. But for the most part, it doesn't make sense. I mean, we're taking it. Don't worry. We're fielding the calls and showing the houses, but it is still kind of an interesting market where, like, it just doesn't add up. I'm with you, Dan. I'm looking online and going, oh my God, maybe all this inventory hit the market and that's why the phones are just blowing up. And I'm looking, I'm like, no, not really. Hey, I remember you. I'm like, so I don't know. I mean, do I think that this bodes well for our market this year? I think it does, but again, regime change and, this and interest rates, everyone's thinking like, it's like, you talk to anyone, you're like, where do you think interest rates are going? It's like, so like, you don't really know if it's going up or down. So I think there's still a little bit to watch for. But my biggest thing too, and I'm always picking something to watch every year. I think it's just like seller pricing. I think seller pricing is going to basically make people think, okay, sellers are a little more realistic. Let's go buy a house there. Or, like, let's go to Cabo, or, we're good with our house, or, let's go to the new homes because Mark knows where all the incentives are. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting though. It's really going to be an interesting year. Jennifer Remedios. Jennifer is Aaron's partner in the company New Way Mortgage. She got like a really good last name, huh?
She just got married. Her last name is now Steele.
Jennifer Steele. Yeah, that's a cool last name. I need a last name. I'm changing my last name. That's a cool name, Jennifer Steele. Sorry about the distraction on the tangent, but I was just like, congratulations, Jennifer, on getting married. That's awesome. Starting the new year, Jennifer Steele, 2025. Okay, so let's wrap the whole thing about, for all you people out there. Now, here's the thing, guys. I want you guys, if you guys are watching this video, I'd love you if you guys could comment and let us know if you think Sacramento is affordable. And the reason why I say this to you guys is because there's a lot of people that watch these videos, and they're like moving in from like other parts of the country, and they just want to know, like, are these like, is Sacramento still like, what should they expect here? Like, is it still affordable? Is it still like a doable place as far as jobs, as far as all that stuff? I will say this for housing. I think all throughout the nation, it's tough just because interest rates. I think we're all kind of suffering. I think some areas more than others. I think we're actually lucky because our jobs having the state jobs and medical jobs and everything too here in Sacramento. I think Sacramento, as far as what I've seen coming from the Bay Area, I think that like we're a little bit more of like a suburb feel here in Sacramento. So, we'll hit our Costco's maybe once a week and we'll kind of hang out. I don't think restaurants are that expensive here comparatively towards the Bay Area. I'm not saying they're cheap. I'm just saying like relatively like the Bay Area is just nuts. Like $600 for like 3 or 4 people going out to dinner, which is still insane. So I think like you're going to be saving a little bit there. Gas is cheaper here. But the biggest bang for your buck is the idea that like, and this is something to really think about. It's the idea that let's say you have like a 1,200 square foot house in the Bay Area and you're like, all right, we got a house. There is going to feel like a little of that claustrophobic feeling because I've had it. I lived in the Bay Area, same thing. And there's a little feeling of like, you know what? We got to go for a walk. We got to go to a park. We got to go out. Let's get out. Let's get out. Let's get out. The thing is, a lot of people move to Sacramento, and I've just always seen people who move into Sacramento, they get double their square footage or something bigger, right? And so what you end up noticing is that people here in Sacramento invest a little bit more in their homes and their backyards and their stuff. And so there's less of a pressure to kind of like say, hey, Aaron, man, I'm just feeling like so cramped here. Let's go out to dinner. You know what I mean? It's more like I'm barbecuing in the backyard or we're ordering takeout and we're eating here because the size allows you to create spaces in your home or in your compound where you feel like, you're okay. You're good. You don't feel like that push to go out. And I think that's one of the big savings here in Sacramento. Also in Sacramento County, Sacramento Municipal Utility District, half the price of PG&E. Roosevelt Electric's the same thing. But what do you think as far as people coming in? I mean, what would you say as far as affordability, lifestyle, like all that stuff too? Like, what would you think? What would you tell someone? I mean, of course we're cheaper than LA and San Francisco, but what would you say from other parts of the country? What would that be? What would that conversation look like or sound like?
Well, I mean, it's going to come down to, what does it cost where you are coming from, right? So I think that if you're coming from a lower cost area, or even if you're a local, Sacramento's not going to be, looking all that affordable. But if you're coming from a higher priced area, which, the majority of the people that we, see coming into the area are either from the Bay Area or LA, a lot of Seattle, these areas where home prices are, on average, 1.5 million or more. It's very affordable in their eyes, but if you're somebody that's local here, or you're relocating here from like Iowa, or something like that, where you're not going to be used to these costs, it's definitely going to be a hard time wrapping your head around the affordability factor of it. I do agree with you though, the lifestyle out here is much more affordable than what it would be. Like my brother, he lives in Emeryville, like out, like right near San Francisco, Oakland, all that stuff. And, we go out and visit and everything. And, we go out to dinner or lunch or whatever the case is. And it always blows my mind as to how expensive everything is. Just a park is crazy expensive. And, when he comes out here to visit, I'll have like 20 people over at my house and cook for everybody. And, and there's plenty of space, and, people don't feel like they're sitting on top of each other or anything like that. And it's like, you don't even bat an eye at offering to host or anything, because it's not crazy expensive. So, you got to kind of factor all of those things in, obviously, in terms of like the cost of doing business. But it definitely is going to make a big difference based off of, where you're coming from. Fortunately for this market, we're definitely fed by those higher price markets that are within a couple hours of us, where, like you said, like dinner can cost $600 for 4 people or whatever the case is at times. So it's there's a lot of good things out here, even though I know that I've cast a lot of shade on certain things.
I'll tell you this. For me, I look at it this way, just like what Aaron said. As far as like Sacramento, I think with all the stuff happening in Sacramento, like the train station Elk Grove, the zoo moving over to Elk Grove, like, X Games, A's. I mean, I just think right now that maybe we're not as affordable as we used to be, but I think that our future there's probably going to be people right now who are looking at the houses, looking at the market, and they're thinking to themselves, it's going to crash. Oh no, like I'm just going to wait for prices to go down. I think you'll be waiting a while. I think it could be one of those things where you look back on today, maybe in 2 years or 3 years from now, and go like, maybe I should have jumped in. So I would just say evaluate your scenario, time your life, don't time the market, but just understand that if you look at Sacramento in general with all the stuff that's happening, all the new home building, all the commercial, everything that's developing around here, it could be that runaway train that you kind of wish at the end of the day you maybe jumped in on. And that's just something to think about, like, like I said, is it affordable? I mean, that's subjective. I mean, it just kind of is. But I would say at this point, you have to think to yourself, like, can I jump in, and how do I see Sacramento's market being in maybe 3 or 4 years? And in 3 or 4 years, will I be able to jump in at that point in time if it keeps doing what I think it's going to do? And that's a subjective thing. That's what you have to kind of think about. All right, we got Wendy. I emailed my mortgage man and realtor clear stating I am not purchasing the house. I was considering. They're ignoring me. I emailed the title company requesting and received acknowledgement. Am I okay? Oh yeah, Wendy was having a situation. I am concerned because I do not think the seller has been informed. The seller's questionnaire conflicts. Here's the thing for me, and this is just the way I am. If you're having any problems with realtors in general, this is what you do. One is, in Sacramento, we are so lucky to have the Department of Real Estate super close by. So the Department of Real Estate is actually located in Sacramento, and they take consumers. They really try to do their best protecting the consumer, So I would say also that's an avenue of going down. I would also say too, one of the things you got to understand, like, title and escrow, right? They're the middle person. They're the ones who control the funds. They're the ones who get all the money. They're the ones who basically control the transaction. So the idea for me is, if I was having an issue, and let's say I was in that situation of buying a house, and I was very, very confused about everything, I would probably do my best to get down to the title company or escrow company and just sit there and just basically sit there until, like, everything, all the questions I had were answered, and that I was completely convinced that everything was done. That would be me. How about you, Aaron?
Well, so it sounds like, Wendy, you are actually in contract to purchase this house, which means that you have most likely contingency periods that you have to meet in order to get your deposit back. And so in order to avoid having to play hardball and, litigate or whatever the case is with the seller, if you're, not meeting those contingencies, what I would do is, if your real estate agent is not communicating with you, then I would get in contact with their broker. A real estate agent is not a real estate broker, so they have to work for a licensed real estate broker. A broker's going to take this very, very serious, because, their license is, it's serious business. So if they're not engaging with you, I would definitely hit them up. If your mortgage person isn't engaging with you, it's not really a big deal unless you've already signed your loan docs, and basically the only thing that's left is for your loan to fund so that your transaction can close out. And all of a sudden everybody's, disappearing on you, and, they're letting the transaction proceed or whatever. By the way, if that were to take place, that would be completely unethical, super shady, illegal, et cetera, et cetera. So I would assume that it's more so that, for whatever reason, they're unhappy with how things have gone, and they're just, being unprofessional about it by, not getting on the phone and communicating with you about it. But I would get a hold of the real estate agent's broker, and make sure that they know you're canceling the transaction.
Yeah, and also the other thing too is, one thing, and this is for everybody outside. Like, I've been hearing people that are like, some people are like not happy with the service they're getting, like at new homes or realtors or whatever. Like, you guys don't realize the fact that, like, reviews are so coveted by realtors. For sure. Like, you guys don't even realize how one bad review or bad something can just screw it up for, like, a realtor and everything too. So just understand, I'm not saying go out there and just tank someone's business, because that's just not cool. But what I'm saying is, like, understand at the same time, there is a little bit of like that, you can use, right? If you had a bad experience, I mean, a really bad experience, you don't want to hurt anyone's business and everything too. But at the same time, reviews are so coveted in the real estate industry. And a lot of people don't really understand that. So, I mean, for me, honestly, like, just understand that there are some avenues you can go to, and I would say, like Aaron said, like, talk to the realtor. If the realtor doesn't, go to the broker. If the broker doesn't,
That's the DRE.
I probably DRE, Department of Real Estate, that's located in Sacramento, and I would definitely go to title for sure. That they're in charge of that transaction. Just let them know what's going on as well too. So that would be me in a nutshell. All right. Do you think Sacramento is affordable for someone who's self-employed? I'd like to be able to afford a home someday. What do you think, Aaron?
Well, I mean, that's very subjective. I mean, are you a self-employed, attorney, or are you a self-employed, house cleaner, or, whatever the case is. So it's like, being self-employed does not mean that you're poor and that you don't make money or whatever. It's going to come down to, your business. And, being self-employed doesn't mean that you can't get a mortgage either. Most people that are self-employed have the ability to obtain traditional financing, Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA, all that stuff. And for those that play the tax game hardcore, where they write everything off under the sun and they show no money on their tax returns, well, there's the bank statement loans. And the interest rates on those loans are only about 1%, maybe 2% at worst, higher than those conventional loans. And that does sound negative. You're like, oh, well, that makes it less affordable. But keep in mind that the reason that you're having to do the bank statement loan is that you didn't pay Uncle Sam or the state of California anything. So you should have that extra cheddar that offsets the difference in the interest rate spread. So, it's definitely affordable for, the right person that's self-employed, that's making enough money to purchase the property. If you are self-employed too, and this isn't tax advice, go seek out your CPA or ChatGPT, Google, whatever. But if you own a home, you do get to write off the business expense of your home on line 31 of your returns. So, there are ways to increase your tax deductions as well as a self-employed homeowner.
For me, here's the thing. I mean, I love this question because I'm going to answer it really, really easy. Aaron, self-employed. Me, self-employed. Homeowners.
Yep.
And so definitely possible, and for us, it wasn't the traditional financing as well too, or for me, bank statement stuff. So there are definitely options you can go to. I would also say, like, in this day and age, so many people are self-employed. I'd say, the funniest part is, like, being in the Bay Area, it seems like there's a lot more people that are working for, like, companies and, like, all that stuff too. Sacramento, man, there are a lot of entrepreneurs making a lot of money here in Sacramento. I mean, I always talk to Aaron, he's like, oh my God, that guy's making this, he's doing this. So, like, the entrepreneurship, for me in Sacramento, is just a huge, huge thing. And like I said, there's a lot of realtors, and there are a lot of realtors that have houses. Definitely self-employed, and definitely wait about it. The big thing I will tell you though, and this is something that I would just love to I've had this exact talk at least 3 times this week, is that if you're thinking about buying a house, even if you're just starting the process, you have every right and you're worthy to get a house. It might take you a little bit of time to get there. You might have to work on some credit. You might have to work on some, like, down payment money or anything too. Don't feel like it's one of those things where you're like, I don't want to go to the doctor because something bad, they're going to tell me something bad, like, don't treat it that way. Getting a home, I handed keys to people where they're still in disbelief that this was going to be their home. You have every right, if you want to, not like you should, just because of this video. If you have every right to buy a house, you have every right, and you're just as worthy and valued as anyone else if you're thinking about buying a house. Some people might take longer. Some people have to work on their credit. It's always like that. And people, like, I'm kidding you. I kid you not. The first step is just saying to yourself, like, that person bought a house. Why not me? Why not me? Why not? I mean, Aaron and I have worked with people with, like, not great credit. It took them 6 months, but boom, they got a home. We've worked with people with, like, literally that thought, oh, I need 20% down payment, 3% down payment. Boom, got them a home. So don't have this mentality where you're thinking to yourself, like, oh, I'm not worthy. I'm just, I don't want to deal with it because they're going to find this one this one Nordstrom bill I didn't pay 4 years ago, and it's just going to tank my whole thing. It's not that way. If anything, it's like, getting into the gym and working out. It might not be what you want to hear, but if you have a goal and the goal is to buy a house, the first step is vital. So there you go.
Makes me think of that saying, where there's a will, there's a way.
Oh, yeah. All right. Pamela says author. Cool. Oh, man. I honestly, if I could write, author, very, very, that's cool. All right. Wendy says, I'm congratulated on my new home purchase after clearly stating that I'm not purchasing. You got to talk to title. I've not signed the appraisal, pest, home inspection contingencies. I have not signed the revised loan docs and closing docs. I've not had a roof inspection. I've not delivered the 40. First of all, if you haven't delivered the cash, then that's one thing. I would also say, just like Aaron said, if you haven't signed off on the appraisal, contingency, loan, and inspection, those are the three amigos to get you out of a transaction. But like I said, I wouldn't sign anything else. I would say go to the broker of whoever your realtor is. And if that doesn't work, go to the Department of Real Estate and talk to title and just basically say yeah, I'm done. That's it. Now, like I said, I'm not saying not knowing your situation, but that's kind of what I would go about and do. So, anything to add to that, Aaron?
Wow, that's great advice.
All right, let's hit on some questions and then we'll let you go for the night, Aaron. All right, Folsom. Okay, who wins in schools? Folsom or El Dorado Hills, Folsom High and Vista Del Lago High are better than Oak Ridge. What do you think?
Ooh,
subjective.
It is totally subjective. But I would lean towards Vista Del Lago, but there's reasons for that, and I've got family members that have kids that go over there, so I'm subjectively, I'm biased.
Interesting.
What do you think?
Here's the thing for me. There's a lot that, like how you say, ratings are ratings. I'd go to greatschools.org and take a look at it. But if it was me and I was going to basically go to a school, like if I was going to move into an area, I would check out the school. I would have a meeting with the principal, check out the vibe there, and just see if it's where I wanted to put my kids. And that's how I would kind of do it. All right, here we got a question. Hold on. Boom. Okay, assigning a buyer's 2.25 agreement with a real estate agent, new, especially prior to seeing a house. Oh man, that's yeah, I mean you kind of have to, because it's illegal not to go out with that. See, that's the caveat to this whole thing that just totally blows my mind, is the idea you got to sign this agreement before you go out to see the house. I'm going to hook you up though. You ready for this? All you need to do with that agreement is basically write up something saying you're no longer my agent. It's easy to get out of. So even if it's signed till the end of time, you can get out of it. So if you're having a hard problem, or if you go out and the realtor, I don't know, is just a jerk, or if they have the attitude where they're like, you signed it, you're with me until the end of time, I don't need to give you any attention. There's ways to get out of it. It's a lot easier to get out of that than you think. It literally, what I've heard is all it requires is writing on a piece of paper, basically saying, I no longer need your services, thank you, and just making sure it gets to the realtor. So yeah, you have to sign it. Legally, you need that before you start seeing houses. But at the same time, number one, interview your agents. Figure out how many homes they've sold, if they're specialized in what you want. And also vibe them out. Make sure they have time for you and everything too. And if it's not going the way you want it to go, then find someone else. And I know realtors right now are like, oh, that Mark, I hate him. But, I don't know. For me, I'm the journey's about you guys. It's not about us. We're realtors, we do a job and it's great, but we close a lot of deals and we do our stuff. This journey of home buying is for you guys. It's your process. It's your thing. You should feel at ease. You should be educated. You should have people take time with you to do this, and you should feel in control of the transaction. So hopefully you are getting that. But yeah, buyer broker, you got to sign it prior to going out. All right, next, Wendy. We got hearts and a lot of hearts from Wendy. Wendy, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And like I said, we'll talk. Next one. Okay, who's better and more affordable for electricity? PG&E controls the heating in my house while SMUD does the rest. Roosevelt Electric. Ooh, what do you think? Okay, so I mean, it's a no-brainer. PG&E is like, not, bills,
Hmm.
then SMUD, and then Roosevelt Electric back and forth. The biggest thing one of the things I haven't gone too deep into is Roosevelt Electric versus SMUD. I mean, PG&E, honestly, I did a poll today about which is cheaper, and there are people voting for PG&E. I don't really get it, but at the same time, like, what do you think? SMUD, what have you been hearing? SMUD versus Roosevelt Electric.
I've heard that SMUD is still cheaper, and it probably has to do with economies of scale. It's a much larger, system organization than Roseville Electric. But that's all anecdotal based off of what I've heard. I haven't actually seen any, numbers to do an analysis on that myself. I
All
know for
right.
sure though that either is way less than PG&E. PG&E is going to be like double pretty much anybody. Maybe those people that said that in that poll that PG&E was the cheapest, maybe they were drinking before. Was that on New Year's Eve?
It was like, hey, what? It was like misvotes. They're like PG&E. What? Yeah. All right, who wins and why? Rockland versus Folsom. A video I did last Friday. If you guys haven't seen it, it's great. Now, this Friday, I'm going to release Folsom versus El Dorado Hills, and I'm going to get you 3 gotchas that are going to help you pick between Eldo and Folsom. Both great spots, but they're the 3 gotchas that you definitely need to know about. Okay, so who do you like better, Aaron? Rockland or Folsom?
I like Folsom better. I think it's there's more to do over there. There's more growth potentially happening over there, and as long as they're actually both getting kind of congested. But Rockland's kind of like like a sleepy suburb of Roseville. Like if you want to go shopping or go to a restaurant or something like that, you're not going to go do that in Rockland most likely. There's not a lot of options. You're going to drive down the hill a little bit and go into Roseville, go to the Galleria or whatever. Whereas in Folsom, you pretty much got everything that you need, and you're right off of Highway 50, which in my opinion is the best highway to be located off of if you want to, jam around town.
For me, here's the thing. I like both communities, right? Both cities. I like them. I think they both have great communities. That there's an appeal to both. But like for me, I think it comes down to 2 things, and these are the biggest gotchas, right? PG&E versus SMUD, and 80 versus 50. Those are the questions you got to ask yourself, pretty much. Like that's kind of what you're looking, because both of them are so close in lifestyle, so close in price point, even. You know what I mean? So close in even structure, right? Even the houses kind of look the same there. Communities built there. You got Toll Brothers building built Oak Crest and Skyline. Then they're over. So it's just tough. But I would say basically Rockland, PG&E, and 80, and then Folsom, SMUD, and 50. So I think both spots are awesome, though. Aaron, if you want to buy me a house at either one of those, I would not complain, man. Either.
I'll
I'm
keep
good.
that in mind.
Sacramento's top 20 cities and areas with the fastest growing home prices. Oh, my sister used to live in Antelope. This is part of California, very beautiful also. One area I really love is Greenback Lane. So beautiful driving in this part. I'm not sure if it's part of Sacramento or a different part of Carmichael. I've driven it many times over the years just to see how beautiful it is. I will say one thing about Sacramento in general, like areas like Carmichael, areas like even Loomis and everything too. If you're someone who loves driving, if you're someone who loves that kind of Northern California scenery, man, like it's awesome. Right? Yeah, we don't have the coastline. I get it. But we have so much amazing driving. So like for me, I don't know. I like our scenery. I like Winding Way. I like, all those streets. What do you think, man? You're like an avid sportsman, outdoorsman. What do you think of like our slice of California?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, I personally, I love how close we're located to everything. I mean, if you want to, you know, go bird hunting, we have world class bird hunting within an hour of Sacramento. You go north into rice country, and there's people come from all over the country to go up there for that. So that's just one example, but there's a whole lot going on. Greenback Lane, as you kind of make your way east off of 80. You're basically heading towards Folsom. Greenback Lane eventually dead ends into that Folsom Bridge. And so, excuse me, the scenery is pretty nice over there.
All right. Well, Sacramento real estate price just crashed in 2025. No coiners. He was mentioning that because you always throw out Bitcoin. Thanks for info. Look forward to purchase in Sac and cash thanks to Bitcoin. Man,
Yeah,
purchase,
Bitcoin's on a
man.
tear.
Bitcoin is on a chair. I mean, I got my little drive too. It's funny. I don't know what I'm doing, but I have one. Happy New Year's, everybody. Happy New Year's to all you guys out there. And I want to say thank you guys so much for your support on this channel, on this growth. Thank you for sharing the videos. Thanks for liking the videos. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for tuning in. And hopefully you guys are getting something from the show. Hopefully you feel a little bit more educated, a little bit less of like kind of, like Sacramento is not as mysterious and you feel like Sacramento is maybe a situation or maybe a location for you. But definitely Happy New Year's to everybody out there. All right, next one. Could the Sacramento housing market see 8% interest rates in 2025? We had sky high rates in 1980 at 18% and it could return. What do you think? Aaron, you're like a Mr. I think interest rates are going high type of guy, right?
I do think that there's a lot of reason to believe that we could see rates trend higher before they come back down. I mean, if you just look at the basic fundamentals of what drives interest rates, inflation is the arch nemesis of long-term debt, and inflation is still on a tear. And like I mentioned earlier in the show, the United States is reissuing $10 trillion. That's with a T. $1 trillion in debt at over triple the rate that they're currently paying right now. So, there's a whole lot of things going on that support rates either staying where they're at least for the time being, or even continuing to trend higher. Over the last 4 weeks, we've seen interest rates move up significantly. They're now sitting at a high that we haven't seen since July.
I'm going to tell you something, man. If we hit into eights, I think home prices are going to drop a little bit. And I think people are not going to qualify to buy homes. And I think it's going to be a standstill. It's going to be like a truck in mud, no traction. There's not going to be anything. I mean, I saw it last year. Anytime we got into the sevens, really into sevens, like 7.3, 7.4, 7.5s, it just slowed. I mean, it was so crazy. Do you remember that? And all of a sudden, it's like we're back in the sixes. And then it's like, boom. Everything's alive again. So for me, I think if we get into the eights, I think you're going to see a lot of people just like, nah, I'm done. I'm good. Have fun. Mm-hmm. I'm down. I'm goodbye. And then I think you're going to see sellers who really need to sell. Because here's the thing. If we're at eights, you're going to see a lot of those people who are in those 2.75s. You have even more like, I'm not selling. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not doing that. So I think that's just going to cause utter and complete sludge. So I don't know. All right. Sacramento's top 20 cities and areas with the fastest growing home prices. California Associated Realtors, CAR. Only 16% of California households can afford the median price home in the state. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think that they're probably a little high on their 16%. I mean, if the average household income before taxes is $92,000 and the average sales price of a home in California is $729,000, do the math. I mean, it just doesn't add up. So, we do have a housing crisis in our state, not just in Sacramento, but all over the place. Affordability is very difficult for a lot of Californians.
Oh, no. I mean, I think right now, like California, Sacramento was 5 years ago, a single person could buy a house. And now it's just like you need two people to buy a house. It's definitely getting a lot more unaffordable. If you guys are enjoying this live broadcast that we do every Wednesday at 7, smash that like button. All right. Happy New Year's, Mark. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much, The Rock 3K. I appreciate it. All right. PG&E versus SMUD is a huge thing to consider. PG&E is incredibly expensive. True. Although Highway 65 is hot garbage. So living out off of 180, not the 80 is your best bet. Yeah. For me, I like what Aaron said, man. 50 SMUD, simple. I like it. Although I will say this, Aaron, they gotta wind up that building that they're doing on 50. It's really messing with me. No.
The infrastructure industrial complex will never let that go. They've been rebuilding that freeway for decades. There's so much money getting poured into that just wait. As soon as they finish it, they're going to start it right back up again. You just got to be smart and remember that you don't want to get stuck in that middle lane, because you're gonna have to drive all the way out to like West Sacramento otherwise.
As someone drives West Sacramento, they're like, "Oh, this is the West Sacramento Mark and Aaron talk about."
Yeah, exactly.
All right, who wins and why? I don't want Folsom to get any bigger than what it is now, but I do love Folsom because it's hills, not as flat land as other places.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing with Folsom, straight up. The thing about Folsom is it's known, right? Folsom is probably the most known spot in the Sacramento metro, so it gets a very big spotlight. Myself pivoted a couple people who saw Folsom, then maybe they wanted Rockland, El Dorado Hills. Folsom is kind of one of those entry points into our market because, oh, my uncle mentioned Folsom. I'm going to come and look at Folsom. Do you have any other spots that are kind of like Folsom? Let's go take a look at Rockland and El Dorado Hills. So Folsom is kind of one of those spots where I do hope that, for me, I know I'm a realtor and all that stuff too. I think they're building too many new homes out there. Honestly, I think that one of the reasons why Folsom is so beautiful is because of the scenery. And I just hope that does not go away. That would be such a shame. And I think we'd lose a whole lot of the scenery and the lifestyle that we love in Folsom. So what do you think?
As somebody that's lived out here my entire life, and I make this drive a few times a week because we have family up there. It is not as nice as it once was to look at. There's just building everywhere. Whereas, in years past, you're looking at hills or the lake or whatever. Now it's all you look at is houses as far as the eye can see. But that's progress, right? So I mean, it's going to keep getting bigger. They got plans.
Oh yeah, it's like, oh, look at the scenery, coming soon. KB Lennar closing out sale. Yeah, it's a shame. All right, who wins and why? If you have $1 million to spend, Folsom probably wins. If you have 650, Rockland wins. I think that's a great comment. I think the barrier to entry in Rockland, the price range difference in Rockland is wider than in Folsom, right? Like Folsom, 650. Mm-hmm. I mean, unless you maybe got a Tri-Point home, which Aaron and I got a couple people into. But other than that, 650 is just a hard one. Rockland, there's still some communities you can make it happen. But I think that hit the nail on the head. Rockland is a doable between maybe even low sixes to I don't know, 3-4 million up in Whitney Oaks. Definitely doable. Folsom, 650. Let's go to Antolia. So yeah, it's not. I think that comment's right on the money. What do you think?
Oh yeah, nail on the head on that one.
All right, this is gonna be a long one. So all right, let's go. To comfortably afford a $500,000 house, you'll likely need an annual income between $125,000 to $160,000. As of December 24th, the average annual salary in Rockland is $47 and some change. That means that the average person or couple would not only be able to qualify. This is very bad. would not be able to qualify. Sorry, this is very bad. Also, with a projected 5% growth, that would knock pretty much everyone's income off the list by mid-2026. There are currently no jobs in the area for anybody to afford any of those homes. Even a dual income is very hard to afford. Plus bills, plus prop taxes, plus car payment, etc. every year. These homes will keep you working until you're 100 years old to pay off. I will say this, if you are moving to Rockland, God, I can't even talk. If you are moving to Rockland, you're probably going to be the people I've moved to Rockland, they're not the ones doing the one-day commute to the Bay Area. It's brutal. Usually the people I'm moving to Rockland are the Zoomers. Maybe a doctor that's kind of going by the Rockland by the 80, maybe commuting to downtown. But it's mainly kind of just people who have their own business, don't have to do too much driving. Rockland, do I think it's going to change in the future? I think you're going to see more commercial and everything happen in Lincoln, and I think it's going to be more accessible. But I'd say also a lot of Rockland people who live in Rockland probably work in Roseville. What do you think?
I agree with that. I mean, I was saying earlier, and buy your average house, you need to make about $172,000 a year, in the area. So, that's obviously based off of the Rockland numbers, but that all adds up, man. It's not cheap.
All right, we got another question. This channel has been so much help. Thank you so much for what you do. Rancho Cordova, Antolia area. By the way, thank you very much. Antolia area. Will they have a middle school and high school coming in? Where can I find this info online? Yeah, Yeah. Okay. So here's where you can kind of find it. It's a little vague. I mean, like, it's kind of like where they're putting in the schools are going to be somewhere behind the Taylor Morrison in Folsom. And so it's going to be kind of in between the Anatolia area, which is behind there, kind of like by the Prairie kind of area if you're coming up to 50. So, I mean, there's no confirmation if it's going to be like, like whose school it's going to be kind of thing, My thinking, and this is just my own 2 cents, basically based on common sense, is that I think people in Rancho and Anatolia, like, they shouldn't have to drive 30 minutes to go to Elk Grove to middle and high school. So hopefully these schools will be something that will actually cater to you guys, right? And if you want to, hit me offline and I'll send you the information on the schools as well too. But what I know so far is that based on what I was told at Taylor Morrison, there will be a new elementary in that area and a new high school before 2030, and the middle school will come in right after. That's what I heard. Now, if it's anything like that elementary school that they put in at Folsom Ranch, that thing is a monster. So I think you guys will be loving life there. And I think, honestly, that Anatolia area, that Rancho area, I think it's going to be like, it's all going to mesh with Folsom Ranch. So, yeah, so that's kind of what it looks like. And like I said, if you want more details on it, I have some screenshots I used for a video I did a little while ago on Folsom, so I'll send you those things as well, too. Feel free to just email me. All right. Good evening, Tatiana. Good evening to you, too, my favorite influencer. Hopefully you're having a fantastic new year and happy 2025 to you and your family. All right, so let's go back to some questions. Boom. Did you ever mention that Highway 80 goes to Tahoe also? There's an easier drive to Tahoe it's an easier drive to Tahoe than 50 is. Stop watching this about halfway through. Okay, I'm sorry. Tahoe's a big one. Just got myself a new snowboard too. Yeah, 80 and 50. What is it? Is an 80 the one that hits to... 80 is a quicker drive, right, to Tahoe?
Well, it depends on what side of Tahoe you want to go to. This person sounds like they're listening to Justin Timberlake's Cry Me a River all the way there. But, if you're going to Truckee and that side of Tahoe, yeah, sure, 80 is great. But if you're going to go to the casinos and you want to be on South Shore, then you got to go to 50. Otherwise, it's a 90-minute drive around Sunnyside. Thanks for playing. Next. Jeez.
Okay, recently moved to Folsom out for 45 years in Fair Oaks. We considered El Dorado Hills just a few miles east. We chose Folsom because it's in Sacramento County and electricity is provided. Man, so many people are making this pivot to SMUD. El Dorado and Placer counties have strict PG&E, and the rates are outrageous. I know for a fact that both counties, it's common to have a power bill of over $1,000 a month. Yeah, 100%. If you're moving to Sacramento area, buy in Sacramento County, and you won't enrich PG&E. Guys, seriously, you guys don't know how great SMUD is. I think for a lot of people, two things definitely to consider when you're choosing between. And like I said, we're doing a video on Friday. Folsom versus El Dorado. But I think the two big things that I'm going to kind of stamp on in the video is home insurance, and also PG&E versus SMUD. Those are huge ones. That's huge. Can you imagine paying like double what you pay on like SMUD? And summer, man, it's hot here. The AC, you want it on. And those brownouts, all right, we're going to talk about it in the video on Friday at 7. Okay, Sacramento exposed. Beware before buying Rockland and Folsom. Good info. Those are buried, but the Cordy exposed, and beware clickbait terms are ridiculous. I will try better. Maybe. Can't guarantee you. Okay, how about stop moving to Rockland and overpopulating it, please. Go to Folsom. Plenty of land over there. Man, I'm going to tell you something. There's been a lot of people moving to Folsom, probably more than Rockland, but honestly, Whitney Ranch is just blowing up. You got JMC, you got Anthem Properties, KB's building over there, the Whitney Retail Center. It's coming, whether you like it or not. Entire area in Sacramento is blowing up. What do you think, Aaron?
Over 2 million in El Dorado Hills. Is that what's the question?
Yeah, this guy says over 2 million. Would you? Okay, for you, if you got $2 million, would you spend it in El Dorado Hills or East Sacramento?
Not East Sacramento. It'd be El Dorado Hills or somewhere else. Anywhere but East
Why?
Sacramento.
Why not East Sacramento?
I personally, I don't like East Sacramento that much. I mean, I don't like that lifestyle of living on top of everybody. I mean, a $2 million house in East Sacramento, although $2 million is a lot of money, you're not going to have a big lot. You'll have a big house, but you're just going to be sitting right on top of your neighbor. No thanks. For $2 million, I want some space. I want to be able to like, walk down the side of my house without having to like scrape up against my neighbor's house. So for $2 million, I'd hard pass on East Sac.
All right. To the next, Elk Grove versus Folsom versus Roseville, which is the best suburb in Sacramento, California. Roseville has its own electric plant, no PG&E or SPUD for power, and Roseville is in Placer County. Excellent conversation. Thank you for providing excellent content. I love that. Thank you very much for that nice comment. Yeah, it's an interesting one. You got like SMUD versus Roseville Electric again. Although I will tell you one thing. This is straight up. The thing about Roseville Electric that kills me is if you're buying a new home in West Roseville, you got to watch. There are power towers everywhere. Have you noticed that? I mean, even that Taylor Morrison Magnolia that they had, I drove in there and there was like Roseville Electric was like right there. So yeah, it's crazy. All right, Sacramento Exposed. Beware for buying Rockland or Folsom, California. These homes are I love this. These homes and real estate agents are such garbage, just hurting the community for financial profit. I mean, guys, here's the thing. Homes are assets, realtors. I don't think we're doing that much bad stuff, but if we are, I apologize.
This person sounds like they're mad that they got like an 8% interest rate or something.
Well, here's the thing, too, and this is kind of what I say to a lot of people. One is, I like that a lot of people are moving into the Sacramento area. I like the infusion. I think it's kind of fun. I think a lot of Sacramento people too. I mean, I think that, especially like in the Gold River area, I talked to like my neighbors, like, they're like, I bought my house originally. It was like $290,000 and now I could sell it for 1.2. A lot of that is because of the demand of the area. And a lot of that is the demand of people moving in and realtors promoting homes. So, some food for thought. All right, homeschooling is the best. 2025. What do you think, homeschooling?
I prefer my sanity, so I send my kids to private school because I don't believe that the schools in my area are good enough. But you wouldn't know me anymore if I were homeschooling. My kids would end up killing me.
And I will tell you this, guys. Anyone who homeschools their child, you are awesome. Like, patience, love, focus. If you do it right, hats off to you. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, oof, that's tough. Sacramento Exposed.
I would do it if I could, but I feel like I'd end up in the loony bin, man.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. I give props where props are due. All right, Sacramento Exposed. Beware before moving to Rockland or Folsom, California. This is a good one. How does West Roseville stack up with these two? Lots of new development with the plus of being close to all of the Roseville amenities. What do you think, Aaron?
I think there's a lot of opportunity out there in terms of growth opportunity. It's just, it's out there. Have you ever driven down Baseline Road, Ricky Rick 7? It's, you're going way out there. I mean, you're close to all the Roseville amenities. It's not like you're, a 5-minute drive to the Galleria or whatever. You're out there. But if you work at Amazon or the airport or somewhere in like the north side of Sacramento or even like downtown Stack, that could be an attractive proposition because you're able to kind of zip down the back roads and everything and make that commute, the non-80 commute, which nobody likes driving on the 80.
Nobody. I'll say this. I think here's the thing about a lot of people don't realize that like Sacramento back in the good old bad old days, Elk Grove was like a bunch of cows cruising around. Folsom was just a pile of dirt. Roseville was doing its thing, but they grew, they developed, and a lot of people made a lot of money by investing in areas that were up and coming. I think West Roseville, I think the Rancho Anatolia area, I think the Vineyard area, I think Lincoln, to an extent, except Lincoln's price point's going up. I think those areas are very, very, those spots where like if you invest in, if you just look at the development plans, the growth plans and everything too, you're on Roseville Electric. I like those areas. I think there can be a lot easier barrier to entry than like your Folsom and your like, and your Rockland. I think also in West Roseville, a lot of the stuff that you're going to buy in West Roseville is newer. And so what I like with that, guys, is the great room floor plans or whatever, great room concept. newer homes, people like poo-poo them because of the density, but they're built energy efficient. So there's a lot of pros for me in West Roseville. Costco over there, or I think it's starting up, and then you got the Amazon store. So I like West Roseville. I'm a big fan. Like I said, the reason why I bought in Gold River as opposed to like Folsom is because I knew Gold River was so close to Folsom and it was going to pop, and it did. So for me, that's kind of how I look at stuff. I love the area, but I don't really want to go to the premium, and I want to make sure that if I'm getting something, it's something that I love. So that's me. Boom. 9 reasons you might not survive living in El Dorado Hills. I love El Dorado Hills. Bought in Lake Hills Estates, half-acre lot, short walk to Folsom Lake. Tons of trails if you are into outdoor activities. Yes, lots of wildlife, deer, turkey, coyotes, but peace and serenity mostly. Thanks for the vid. Guys, honestly, El Dorado Hills is absolutely gorgeous. Yes, we got some home insurance issues going on there, and yeah, but beautiful sunrises, sunset, scenery. It's just absolutely gorgeous, don't you think?
Oh yeah, if you can afford it, it's hard to beat. It's one of the best spots in the area.
I mean, people fall in love, coming up from the Bay, see El Dorado Hills, and you're just sold. Beautiful, beautiful. All right. Will Sacramento real estate prices crash in 2025? We bought our 11.73 acre ranch in Wheatland. Wheatland, by the way, I love Wheatland. At 2000, interest rate was 7.5, but had been up to 12 in the mid-90s. Of course, our home cost a fraction of what it was worth now, but so were our salaries at the time. We barely qualified. We had to look in Yuba County at the time because even 25 years ago, we were priced out of Placer County. Wow. As far as the people using their money to upgrade their current homes, that's true. But there are people wanting room for animals and live in the country lifestyle, but not want to be close to Sacramento. I commute to downtown Sac for years. Ours happens to be for sale out in Camp Fair West Lake at still a much lower price than Placer and Sacramento County for this type of property. I like it. I think the only thing that you got to watch out for, like I said, is home insurance or fire insurance out there. But at the same time, I like the idea of having land. I will say one caveat, even though Aaron's a big fan of getting a big piece of property, is you got to maintain the land. For me, I'm a half acre. I mean, I've seen Yellowstone. I like the show. I see all that acre, and this is beautiful. You're not going to catch me on a lawnmower mowing like 4 or 5 acres. How about you, Aaron?
That's my dream, man. I'll sit on that like Forrest Gump all day long, just driving back and forth.
Oh man, I will send you a GoPro for that. All right, Sacramento exposed. Beware before moving to Rockland, Folsom. You can't go wrong with Rockland, Folsom, or Roseville. You really can't. I mean, that's kind of the trifecta where a lot of people like. I think El Dorado Hills, their price point is like, median home price in El Dorado is like $900,000 and up. So it's a little higher price point, but Rockland, Folsom, Roseville, yeah, those areas are solid. Love East Roseville, love Central Roseville, West Roseville, up and coming. Got some good stuff here in the Sacramento area. Okay, can you speak from investor point of view, looking for the next 10 years, and which is a better between Folsom Ranch and Whitney Ranch? What do you think, Aaron?
Oh man, that's so hard to say. I mean, those are both two neighborhoods that are in high demand. That probably are going to blow up around the same amount. I mean, I don't know if you could go wrong with either one. It's hard to say though, like which one are you going to come out farther ahead on? It's not like, if the question was like, Folsom Ranch versus Elk Grove or, something like that. It's like, well, you're in a much different price point, but Whitney Ranch, as you know, I mean, that's a comparable price point to Folsom. So it's, I don't know, kind of like the Pepsi Coke challenge right there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Whitney Ranch, it's hard to beat that lifestyle there and the 82 HOA for the cabana, the pool, and everything too. I love it. I think it's I think it's probably for the bang for your buck. I don't know if there's an HOA that can beat it. Lifestyle, fun, everything's new, everything's cool up in Whitney Ranch. I like it. Folsom Ranch, though, the thing with Folsom Ranch the thing about Folsom Ranch that makes it such a player, especially like let's talk about 2030 just so I can kind of figure this out a little bit more in my head. There's so much stuff happening in Folsom Ranch. At Folsom Ranch, like right now, I mean, you have the new sports center with 3 indoor hockey rinks. You got a Dignity, and you have UC Davis with campuses. Commercial, you have new malls coming in. I mean, The development plans at Folsom Ranch are just crazy. As far as like an investor goes, if it was me and I was looking to like invest in either in Whitney Ranch or Folsom Ranch, Folsom Ranch, I think it's closer to jobs, closer to economic hubs. I mean, even at Folsom Ranch, let's say that you buy somewhere like Taylor Morrison or something, you're still what? Maybe like East Bedwell's kind of a bear, but let's say like 8 minutes to the 50 and then maybe another 25 minutes to downtown. You're kind of close to everything in the 50s right there. So, and also the other thing too that I really love about Folsom Ranch is that they're building their own commercial and everything in the Folsom Ranch area, but until they do, you're like 5 minutes from Costco, 7 minutes from the Palladio and shopping. It's just I don't know. There's just so much around Folsom Ranch that makes it just such a juggernaut. But from an investor point of view, what you want? You want appreciation, but you also want short-term and long-term rentals. One is Folsom Ranch is very community driven, family friendly, all that stuff too. So you got the long term people who want to live there for the schools and everything. Short term, you're going to have all these medical campuses. You got Intel that's switching over to probably Qualcomm in the next few months or whatever. So I like Folsom Ranch. I think it's from an investor standpoint, I like it. All right, Art and Arcade and why we love it. Garden of the Gods. Love the area. Close everything. Don't tell anyone. Okay, I will not, but I just put this comment up, so I'm sorry. I like this area. I think if you're an X game aficionado, Art and Arcade, man, you're loving life. You'll just hop over to Cal Expo and you'll see some X game stuff, right? But you're not a big fan of this area, huh?
Garden of the Gods, I don't dislike that area. I got a good buddy of mine lives on Olive Oak Way. You know, Carmichael's a great neighborhood. It's a well-established neighborhood. Arden Arcade, you know, is like it's a more like you're like bunching a whole bunch of different little neighborhoods together in that area. So it's like you've got wild differences between homes that are in like Arden Park versus, you know, the Arden on the west side of Watt Avenue or the south side of Fair Oaks Boulevard or whatever. There's a lot of variety over there. So there's some areas that I'm not a huge fan of, but it's overall that's a pretty good area. Garden of the Gods is really nice.
Cool name, huh? Okay, here's what I'll tell you guys. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this conversation. If you're late to the party, please let us know if you think Sacramento is still affordable in 2025. And also, if you're late to the party, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're dropping so much content about Sacramento. It's crazy. And we go live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Why do we do this? Because the market changes. Prices change. New communities happen overnight. And guys, this is where you get real-time information. All right, next one. Boom. A lot of detailed information. Thank you. Please double check. Yeah, that was me. My bad. I apologize, and I blanked it out. But yeah, that was my mistake. Sorry about that. All right, let's do some polls, and then we'll let Aaron go. Aaron also, just to give a shout out to Aaron, and hopefully gets us some more likes, and also reach out to Aaron because he's a rock star mortgage broker. Aaron has been sick this entire week. I mean, literally, I had to beg and plead for him to get on the show live with me because I wanted to start off with a bang 2025. So he's sick, but he's here and he's doing his thing out here too. So give him a like, give him a lot of love. He's doing this for you guys. All right. Who wins and why? Elk Grove versus Roseville. Elk Grove edges out Roseville. What do you think of that?
That doesn't surprise me. I think that Elk Grove definitely has like that hometown bias. You know, there's a lot of hometown pride out there. I'm class of 1999, Elk Grove High School. You know, it's Elk Grove's great. Roseville's great too, but I do think that Elk Grove's a pretty tight-knit community, so it doesn't surprise me that you see more people voting for that.
Well, guys, you're in luck. Not this Friday, because this Friday I'll be doing Folsom versus El Dorado Hills, but the following, it's Roseville versus Elk Grove. Schools,
there we go.
Location, lifestyle, boom, boom, boom. So it should be a fun one. All right, better schools, Rockland or Folsom? Ooh, Folsom beats out Rockland. What do you think?
That doesn't really surprise me. I mean, Whitney High is a great school and everything, but you got more options in Folsom. And you know, there's also the schools out there are newer. You know, they redid the Folsom High School a few years back, and then of course they added Vista del Lago, and then you've got all the other, you know, middle schools and elementary. So there's a lot of options out there compared to Rockland.
I think both, I mean, go to greatschools.org. It's like schools are very subjective. Both areas have rock star schools. I mean, even though I will have to say, like, Rockland high schools, they did produce Sam Golovy, so that's probably a negative mark against them. Just joking, Sam. But I think both those areas have great schools. But go to greatschools.org, judge for yourself. And also, don't just look at these greatschools.org and rankings and all that stuff too. I mean, that's great, but it's also the vibe and the community vibe of the school. And that you're only going to get if you go to the school, interview the teachers, principals, and all that stuff, and feel out the school. I mean, that's huge, huge, huge. Okay, over $2 million in El Dorado Hills. What do you think? Would you spend over $2 million in El Dorado Hills, Aaron Klaus?
You know, if that's, if you're asking, you know, is that a bad investment or whatever, I don't think that that's a bad investment at all. I mean, you know, there are $4 million homes in El Dorado Hills. I mean, you go into Serrano, and, you know, especially if you go like on, San Rafael and those streets that are, you know, up in the development a little bit more, you can't even shake a stick at a house for less than $2 million. So I don't think that you're overpaying at that price point in El Dorado Hills. I mean, you know, there's definitely neighborhoods out there that are much lower price point, but, you know, there's some crazy neighborhoods and houses all over the place out there.
I mean, okay, so check this out. Granite Bay is one of the only spots in the Sacramento metro where the average price point is over $1 million. El Dorado Hills is getting up there. I mean, we're in the 900s average, you know, home price in El Dorado Hills. So it's getting there. So as far as $2 million in El Dorado Hills, that's not even a far stretch. So yeah, I think it's definitely, you know, I think it's definitely there. And I think the only thing for right now for El Dorado is it's a little cold just because everyone, you know, smells fire, sees something fire, and they freak out, and PG&E, you know, a lot of people, I'm seeing them do the old pivot to SMUD. So I don't know, but I love El Dorado Hills. I mean, you can't really get, like, that's the dream, right? You know, the views, resort style living, drinking wine every night, and, you know, all that stuff. It's fun living, guys. El Dorado is beautiful. Who wins and why? Rockland versus Folsom. Man, Folsom demolished Rockland. I'm not saying this my own opinion. I'm just saying on this poll on the channel, man, 79% of you said Folsom beats Rockland. Aaron, they're all on your side. You Folsomites. Folsom
doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. All right. Next one. Which is better downtown commute? Folsom or Rockland? Folsom. Yeah, that's a hands down, man. 50, so much easier to deal with. Oh, guys, hopefully you're enjoying this video too. And smash that like button if you could. It would mean a lot to me. All right, Aaron, we're done. We're out of here. Any parting words? Are you going to go grab some NyQuil and chill?
Oh, I'm going to drink a whole bottle of NyQuil, and, you know, I'll see you guys next week. I appreciate you guys putting up with all my coughing and all that stuff throughout the night. It was fun talking, and looking forward to seeing you guys again soon.
All right, guys, if you don't know already, Aaron is one of the top mortgage brokers in all the Sacramento area, if not further out. He's amazing. Reach out to him if you're looking to get a mortgage on your home, or you're looking to buy or whatnot. Aaron is the man. I've worked with him on multiple occasions. He's just a rock star. So if you are looking for someone maybe to get a PEPS challenge against, or if you're someone who's maybe just a little bit nervous about jumping into the market, reach out to Aaron. He's just awesome. He treats all our clients fantastic. He is a great mortgage broker, him and Jen. Now, if you're thinking about making the move to Sacramento, guys, you know who to call. Reach out to our team. And also another thing too, just want to let you guys know, if you are one of those people that are going to be listing your house in 2025, don't settle for those realtors that stick a post in the ground, cross their fingers, take a few photos, and call it a day, guys. Nobody lists a house like we do. Nobody gets eyeballs on homes like we do. And that's my pitch. Now, like the video, guys. See you next week. Okay, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the show. Like I said, guys, no Sacramento news channel, no YouTube channel does what we do, bringing you a live show every single week at 7 p.m. so you can ask your questions, so you can get informed about the real estate market as it stands in real time. Now, if you like the video, guys, if you like the show, please smash that like button, share it with a friend, subscribe if you already haven't subscribed, and if you're thinking about moving to the area, reach out to the #1 relocation team in all the Sacramento metro, and also if you're thinking about listing your house, guys, we get more eyeballs on listings than any other channel, any other realtor or team in the Sacramento area. Now, one more thing we did for you. There's a playlist of some of our old shows that you guys definitely need to watch if you're thinking about moving to the Sacramento area. It'll give you a little idea of the trends and what's been happening. But right there's a playlist. Check it out. See you next video.